Hey everyone, so in this video I want to share how I organize my phone for productivity, mental clarity, and digital minimalism. A friend recently put it really well. Your phone is almost the remote control for your life at this point. The amount of time we spend on our devices is pretty wild. And truth is, you are probably watching this video on your phone, at least statistically, most people are. So having a phone that is organized and uncluttered, I think is equally as important as having an apartment or a home that is organized and uncluttered. If your phone is a total mess with hundreds of different apps all over the place, it gets confusing. I think that is a way to become stressed as a person as well. I know that because my phone used to be exactly like that. It was cluttered with hundreds of different apps and it was all over the place. Just a big mess I used to download every single finance app, every social media app, every trending game. I thought more was better, that having all these tools at my fingertips would somehow make me smarter, richer, more in the know. What it actually did was create a constant stream of distractions, a barrage of notifications that pulled me in 100 different directions. It mirrored my early investment philosophy, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Spoiler alert, nothing stuck except for the debt and the anxiety. So I want to show you what my phone looks like. Now, I am going to show you all the apps that I have on there. Each one serves a purpose. But a quick note here, you are going to find throughout this video that I really use my phone for utility. That is just personally what I choose to use my phone for. I don't really use it more than just for work or for messaging people or for utility purposes. So I don't really have any games on there. I don't really have much entertainment on there. That is just how I personally do it. That is certainly not to tell you that you shouldn't have fun things on your phone as well. That is just how I see it. Please don't take offense there if I don't have Netflix or any other games or anything on there. For me, my phone used to be another source of impulsive decisions, just like my early investing days. I download a new app because it promised some amazing feature or a new way to track my imaginary massive profits. It was all about chasing the next shiny thing rather than focusing on what truly mattered. I quickly learned that a cluttered digital space often leads to a cluttered mind, which then leads to poor financial decisions. So let's go ahead. Let me get into this. I want to first talk about notifications. We talk about my lock screen, my home screen, and then each of the individual apps. All right, so let's start off with the background and the lock screen on my phone. As you can see, I choose to have a black lock screen and a background. Although this might look pretty boring, I choose to do this for two different reasons. The first is because it draws the least amount of energy from my phone. So my battery lasts longer. If this was a white background, it would draw more energy. So black is just a lot more conservative there. And then also, the other reason is because I don't have a dog or a wife to have as my background. So yeah, it is just black. It has been like that for a couple years and it is really simple. But that is what I choose to do. You'll also notice that I don't have any notifications right here on the home screen. That is because most of my notifications are off. I am also in airplane mode right now because I am up in the mountains and I don't have good service. Whenever I have spotty service, I just put it in airplane mode and it saves my battery from just trying to find cell towers all the time. But I usually don't have many notifications on my phone. I choose to do this because if you think about the amount of notifications that the average person might be getting, let's say once every 10 minutes, you get a notification that is going to distract you and kind of just break your line of thought, your train of thought at any given point. If you are reading a book or you are studying for school or you are working on a project and you constantly have your phone buzzing and vibrating and reminding you all the time, it just kind of breaks things apart. I don't think it is very good. My journey with notifications was a slow but painful realization. I used to have every single notification turned on for every app, every email, every social media ping. It was like a constant siren call pulling me away from whatever I was doing. I felt like I had to respond immediately to be constantly available, constantly connected. This constant interruption bled into my financial life as well. I'd be researching a stock, get a notification about a hot tip from some obscure forum, and immediately jump ship to chase that tip. It led to impulsive decisions, buying high and selling low, all because I was constantly reacting to external stimuli instead of sticking to my own research and strategy. It was like trying to drive a car while constantly looking at the passenger's phone. You are bound to crash. So I really don't have notifications on my phone besides a few different apps. I put my phone into work mode. What this does is it allows me to set certain people who can contact me, for example, family and some very close friends. We read very close people that I want to be able to access me at any point. And then also some specific apps like FaceTime, Google Calendar, Notes, Signal timers, things like that. I'll have set up for work mode and I have that pretty much running 24/7, so I don't get distracted very often from anything. My goal is to have my phone vibrate and notify me as few times as possible throughout the day. This disciplined approach to notifications is a direct result of my past financial blunders. I realized that if I could control my attention, I couldn't control my money. The constant urge to check my phone to see what new investment opportunity I was missing out on was a huge contributor to my early failures. It fostered a scarcity mindset, a fear of missing out, or FOMO that drove me to make irrational trades. Now, by limiting notifications, I am training my brain to focus, to be deliberate, and to resist the urge for instant gratification. This mental shift has been invaluable not just for my finances, but for my overall well-being. It is about being in control, not being controlled by a device. Now let us start off by looking at my phone here. I have 3 different pages of apps. I'll go over each one of these different apps and why I have it on my phone. But what you do notice right off the bat is how really utility focused my phone is. Once again, that is just my personal preference. So I don't have a lot of entertainment or gaming on here. But let us start off with the bottom ones here. So phone, yes, I have notifications for that. Messages, this gives me a lot of anxiety right here. 436 unread messages. There is not much I can do about this besides maybe change my number or get a second phone. I don't really know what to do, but yeah, I am not perfect. Not sure how to do that because I don't want to miss messages either. And then email I used to not have on my phone, but I recently re-downloaded email and now I have it on my phone for really one main reason. It is just for like two-factor authentication or if I just need to check something quickly. But the key here that you notice is that I don't have any notifications for email. I think this is like the first thing you should turn off for notifications. Just turn this off and check your email once a day at the end of the day or maybe in the morning. That is how I set it up. I just check it once a day on my computer, but I just have it as a backup here on my phone in case I need it. And then of course, just the camera app that I use all the time. My phone used to be a financial battleground, a place where I constantly check my fluctuating portfolio, hoping for a miracle. I have multiple trading apps open, refreshing them every few minutes, convinced that if I just watched closely enough, I could somehow predict the next big move. It was exhausting, and it led to nothing but stress and poor decisions. The 436 unread messages are a perfect example of my past struggles. I used to feel an immense pressure to reply to everyone, to be constantly engaged in every conversation. It is the same mentality that made me overtrade and chase every opportunity. Now, I've learned to prioritize. Some messages just aren't urgent, and that is okay. It is about managing my attention, just like I manage my investments. By being selective and deliberate, email was another huge time sink. I used to have notifications for every single email thinking I was being productive by responding instantly. In reality, I was just constantly reacting to other people's agendas instead of focusing on my own. Turning off email notifications and only checking it once a day was a game changer. It gave me back control of my time and my focus. It is a small change, but it had a massive impact on my productivity and my peace of mind. It is like consolidating your investments, streamlining them to focus on what truly matters rather than being spread thin and constantly distracted. So going from the top here, I have my notes, what I have ideas, video checklists, just different tasks that I need to do for the week. I use this most often on my phone, just kind of like as a big board of stuff that I can just throw thoughts and ideas onto. So that is what I use my phone most for. Of course, still journal a lot on like physical journals and paper. And then a lot of these other apps are pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we need to go over the Google apps. Signal is a messaging app that I use pretty often. It is one of my favorites because of the security on it, so they don't tend to store your messages on servers for very long periods of time. So I think it is one of the best apps for like secure and end messaging there. Slack I use for a couple businesses that I am a part of that I need to just be tied in with. WhatsApp here is a fun fact. I've learned that people outside of the United States tend to use WhatsApp. So I use WhatsApp for all of my European friends and South America, Asia, pretty much everywhere outside of the United States. A lot of people use WhatsApp, but in the United States, especially if you were born in the US, I rarely meet anybody who uses that. Everybody in the US tends to use SMS or just like the iMessage thing down here. Just a fun little fact that I've noticed over time. And then ClickUp is something that I use for task management, for managing employees and everything that maybe I'll talk about in a future video. My Notes app is like my brain dump, a place where I can quickly jot down ideas, financial insights, or even just random thoughts before they disappear. It is a crucial tool for organizing my thoughts, which in turn helps me make more deliberate and less impulsive decisions. In my past, I often act on half-baked ideas, especially when it came to investing. I hear a rumor, quickly buy a stock, and then forget why I even bought it in the first place. The Notes app helps me to document my rationale, to plan my content, and to reflect on my financial journey. It is a digital journal of sorts, helping me to track my progress and learn from my mistakes. The messaging apps, Signal, Slack, WhatsApp, are all about communication for work and personal connections. I've learned the hard way that clear communication is essential, not just in business but in life. In my early investing days, I was often swayed by vague and unverified information from online forums or social media. I misinterpret signals, leading to poor trades. Now, I prioritize secure and reliable communication channels, ensuring that the information I receive is trustworthy and actionable. It is about building a solid foundation, both in my communication and in my financial strategy. ClickUp for task management is another critical tool. My past financial failures were often a result of a lack of planning and execution. I jump into investments without a clear strategy, without understanding the risks, and without a proper exit plan. ClickUp helps me to break down complex tasks into manageable steps, to track my progress, and to hold myself accountable. It is about bringing structure and discipline to my daily life, which directly translates into a more disciplined approach to my finances. It is about learning from past mistakes and building systems that support long-term success rather than short-term gains. So let us go ahead and go on to the second page here. here. The first thing you'll notice here is the big Google Maps widget. I choose to have this as a large widget because of course I use it very often. But I also think it is important because let's say that you are biking somewhere or maybe you are driving somewhere, you are at a red light and you need to quickly just type something into Google Maps to see where you are going. I like to have a big widget so I can just easily access Google Maps instead of having like a tiny little app icon somewhere. So I really do think this one is pretty important. Then you LLC other ones like utilities, photos, Uber. I don't think we need to talk about those. iOverlander is a really great app for anyone who is doing some camping. So I've been living in my truck for a little bit, so I can go on this app and I can see all the different campsites around. Like if I want to look at someone's around Aspen, people just upload these. It is basically crowdsourced and they say where they V-camped. And yeah, great app for that if you ever do any camping. Then you notice I have 4 finance apps here. Now, truth be told, I probably could have 100 different finance apps on my phone. I've tried almost all of them out because of my videos on my channel. I make a lot of finance videos, but I only have 4 on my phone right now at the moment. I choose to do most of my online banking and most of my investing, and everything else on my desktop, I separate that from my phone. But I do have a couple here. Robinhood I use just to check prices of stocks throughout the day, in case I need to just check up very quickly. Fundrise is an app that I really like, and this is actually the sponsor today's video. So let me just briefly share what Fundrise is and why I like this company. So Fundrise is an investing platform that allows you to invest into real estate without having to do the heavy lifting yourself. Personally, I didn't want to have to go out and find properties and then buy them and then find tenants and then go and unclog their toilets when the tenants have problems. I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I chose to invest my money through a platform like Fundrise, which really just streamlines the process of investing into real estate. They have a really simple, really smooth app that I think you would really like. So let me just show you around here a little bit. You can go to fundrise.com, Brian, or click the link in the description below if you want to check it out. But here is just some of the really great features about it. So they have 5 different plans. They have something like a starter plan all the way up to a premium plan. So we have starter, we have basic, we have core, which is what most people do. It is a $5,000 investment minimum. And then we have the advanced plan and then the premium plan for the big heavy hitters with $100,000 investment minimum on that. But with each one of these different plans, you get a number of different features that I think are really incredible, and I've really been happy with the results and the features within this app. Just for example, you get access to the Fundrise IPO when it comes out if you are part of the core plan, right? That is just one small example there of things that are available. Now I want to quickly talk about the management fees and the other fees associated because I think this is really important and I think this is really great with Fundrise. A 0.15 annual advisory fee is incredibly low, and up to 0.85% as an annual asset management fee is also incredibly low. Trust me, I've spent a lot of time talking to people in the industry in real estate investing, and these fees are extremely low. I haven't seen anybody with lower fees personally, so that is why I think Fundrise is a really great platform to start investing into real estate. If you want to go check out the app, you can just go to fundrise.com, Notobrian, and sign up for Fundrise. I highly suggest it. I use this app myself. So thanks Fundrise for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, let's continue on with the rest of the video. The Google Maps widget is a practical example of how I prioritize utility in my younger, more impulsive days. I often rush into financial decisions without proper research or understanding of the landscape.